All right, so we all think we know the story of Joseph, right? The coat of many colors. But that's just the beginning. The real story, the one we're going to get into, isn't really about a piece of clothing. It's about a test that spans decades, a hidden divine plan, and how an absolutely brutal act of betrayal ended up saving an entire nation from wiping out.
And this quote, man, this just cuts right to the core of it all. Picture this, 20 years after they sold their own brother into slavery, this is what they're whispering to each other. That guilt, it's been like a shadow following them this whole time, and now they're convinced the bill has come due.
So how did we get here?
Well, it all goes back to this deep, old wound in the family, one that's just been festering for years. You've got two massive crises hitting at the exact same time. First, a devastating famine that's threatening everyone's survival. And second, this quiet internal crisis of a family just shattered by jealousy. So their father, Jacob, he basically sends them on this life or death mission. It's simple. Go to Egypt, buy grain, or we all starve. They literally have no other option. But what they don't know is that this trip for food is about to make them face the one thing they've been running from for 20 years.
And that's how they end up in Egypt, the global superpower of its day. And they're walking right into a test they have no idea is even happening. They're about to stand in front of this incredibly powerful official, the guy who controls all the food, and they have absolutely no clue it's the brother they sold into slavery.
And this moment, the irony is just dripping from this scene. They bow down face to the ground in front of this powerful man, and in doing so, they are literally fulfilling the dreams that Joseph told them about as a kid. The very dreams that made them so jealous they tried to get rid of him. You can almost feel the gears of a much bigger plan turning, right?
So Joseph sees them, and his response is brilliant. This isn't about revenge, not at all. It's a carefully crafted test with multiple stages. He accuses them of being spies, he throws one of them in jail, he even makes them look like thieves. And it's all designed to answer one single burning question. Have my brothers changed? And more importantly, how are they going to treat Benjamin, the new favorite son?
So when they're on their way home and find the money secretly put back in their sacks, they freak out. They are absolutely terrified. They don't think, what a weird mistake. Nope. Their first thought is, God is doing this to us. It's instant. This has to be the payback for what they did to Joseph all those years ago.
Okay, so they eventually have to go back to Egypt, and this time, Joseph invites them to his house for a meal. And get this, he gives his younger brother, Benjamin, 5 times more food than anyone else. Now, this isn't just him being a nice host. This is a very specific, very targeted experiment.
See what he's doing? He is manufacturing the exact same situation that caused all the trouble in the first place. Blatant favoritism. He's dangling it right in front of their faces to see what happens. Will that old, ugly jealousy pop up again? Are they going to hate Benjamin the way they hated him? Or have they actually, truly changed? And then he lays the final trap. And this one is the most serious of all. He has his own personal silver cup, a very important object hidden in Benjamin's bag. Then he sends his guards to catch them. Suddenly Benjamin, their father's most precious son, is framed as a common thief. The punishment? Slavery? Or worse.
Now everything comes to a head, and the focus shifts to one brother in particular, Judah. And this is key, because Judah was the one who came up with the idea to sell Joseph in the first place. And now, history is repeating itself. He's facing the exact same choice all over again.
And the change, it's just staggering. The first time this happened, they sold their brother for pocket change. This time, when it looks like they'll lose Benjamin, they tear their clothes in agony. That's a sign of complete devastation. Before, they just watched coldly as Joseph begged for his life. Now, one of them is about to do something unthinkable.
And there it is, the climax. Judah, the same guy who cashed in on his brother's life, steps up. He stands before this Egyptian official he's terrified of, and he says, "Take me, let me be your slave instead of him." He's willing to give up his own life, his own freedom, to save his little brother and his father. That's it. That's the proof Joseph was looking for. The test is officially over.
Joseph has everything he needs. He's seen it with his own eyes. Genuine change, real sacrifice. And at that moment, he just breaks. He's so overwhelmed he can't keep up the act for one more second.
So, the brothers have passed the test.
But what does that mean for them now? They're still completely at his mercy. He holds all the power. He could easily take his revenge, and honestly, who would blame him? So the big question is, what happens next?
He orders everyone else out of the room, and then, through these huge, gut-wrenching sobs that you can supposedly hear throughout the palace, he says it, "I am Joseph." You'd think they'd be relieved, right? Not a chance. They are frozen, just pure terror, because the man they thought was their judge is the very person they left for dead.
But then, instead of punishment, Joseph does something incredible. He completely reframes the entire narrative of their lives. He says, hey, don't beat yourselves up over this. Yeah, what you meant to do was evil, but God had a different plan. He used your terrible decision for good to save an incredible number of people from this famine.
And right there, that's the whole point of the story, isn't it? It's about seeing this bigger picture, this divine plan that was being woven together through all the messiness, through the human failure and the pain to create something amazing. And don't miss this one small but powerful detail. Remember how at the beginning it says they hated him so much they couldn't even speak a kind word to him? Well, after all this, after the forgiveness, the text says, and afterward, his brothers talked with him. The 20-year silence is finally broken. The family's whole again.
And the outcome is just a total reset. Forgiveness. Reunion. They're even given the best real estate in Egypt, a place called Goshen, where they can thrive as their own community. And maybe best of all, their father Jacob, who's basically been a ghost for 20 years, consumed by grief, his spirit comes back to life. It's like a resurrection for the entire family.
There's a big picture idea at play here, and it's called divine providence. It's this belief that God isn't just watching from the sidelines. He's more like a master weaver, taking all the threads of our lives, the good ones, the bad ones, even the really ugly ones, and weaving them together into something that in the end is beautiful and for greater good. So, at the end of the day, what's the takeaway? It's that all that pain, Joseph's time in prison, the brothers' years of guilt, their father's deep, dark grief, none of it was for nothing. It wasn't meaningless. In fact, it was all a crucial part of a plan to save this one family, the very family that would grow into the nation of Israel.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? Because this story isn't just about something that happened thousands of years ago. It kind of makes you wonder about your own life. What if the toughest parts, the things that feel like failures or just deep sorrows, what if they aren't just random static? What if they're also being woven into a much bigger story, one whose ending we just can't see yet?